We've all seen it, right? A loved one, maybe a parent, just suddenly lost, right in the middle of a simple task. We kind of brush it off, call it a senior moment, but what if it's something more? What if it's not actually about their memory failing, but about the rhythm of their daily life breaking? Today, we're going to look beyond that label and get to the real story behind these quiet, confusing moments.
So just picture this for a second. It's your mom, the woman who used to run family dinners like a five-star general. And now she's just standing there, frozen, in the kitchen. The fridge door's open, the little light is on her face, but she's a million miles away. It's a small moment, but man, it feels huge. You can almost feel the static in the air.
And, our minds immediately go to the worst-case scenario. Is this it? Is this the beginning of that long fade we've all been dreading? That's a totally natural fear. But what if that fear is making us ask the wrong question entirely?
To really get what's going on, we need to look closer. We have to shift our focus from what's being forgotten to how the brain is trying to get things done. So let's start by looking at these moments not as failures, but as signals.
Okay, think of the brain like a big, complex orchestra. Memory? That's the sheet music. All the notes, all the melodies, they're right there. But executive function? That's the conductor. The one who cues the violins, tells the drums when to come in, and keeps the whole thing in sync. Well, when the conductor starts to get tired or distracted, the music can just fall apart, even if every single musician still knows their part perfectly. That's what we're seeing. It's not a loss of knowledge, it's a breakdown in the orchestration.
So if it's not the musicians, but the conductor, what exactly does this conductor do all day? Let's zoom in on the brain's control center and the incredible job it does every single second without us even realizing it.
Executive function is basically the CEO of your brain. It's the ultimate project manager. It doesn't just store information, it makes the plan, it assigns the tasks, it sets the deadlines, and it keeps everything on track. It's that invisible force that turns a simple thought like, I want some coffee, into a whole sequence of actions. Get up, walk to the kitchen, grab a mug, scoop the grounds, you get it. Without that manager, you'd have all the right ingredients, but absolutely no recipe.
And these are the core skills in that manager's toolkit. Working memory, that's like the brain's little sticky note, holding on to the reason you just walked into this room. Planning, that's the GPS, right? It maps out the route from point A to point B. And focus, well, that's like putting on blinders so you don't get sidetracked by the mail on the counter or a bird outside the window. When even one of these skills starts to get shaky, the whole system feels the strain.
All right, so what happens when this internal CEO is just overwhelmed? The brain, being the amazing thing that it is, starts coming up with workarounds. And it's these workarounds, these coping mechanisms, that often show up as behaviors that can be really confusing or, let's be honest, frustrating for us to see.
Just imagine for a second that your own mental to-do list has turned into a jumbled mess. Suddenly, a simple task like paying a bill feels like climbing Mount Everest. What do? Well, you might start avoiding those mountains altogether. You might just shut down when you get frustrated because it's easier than facing another failure. Or you might cling to the one path you know by heart, that one single routine that doesn't need a map, because it's the only place you feel safe anymore.
And this right here, this is probably the most critical shift in perspective we can possibly have. This isn't about being defiant or difficult. It's about defense. The brain is instinctively trying to protect itself from the stress and confusion of a world that just doesn't quite make sense anymore. The goal isn't to get the thing done. The goal is just to feel okay.
And this is where we, as caregivers, have such an incredible opportunity. It's not about being a hero. It's about being an architect. See, we can't fix the brain's internal wiring. But what we can do is redesign the environment to make it way easier to get around in. We can build a world that feels less like a maze and more like a clear, well-lit path.
And the best part is, we don't have to guess how to do this. There's a whole field of science called applied behavior analysis. Now that sounds super technical, but it's really just the study of how our environment affects our behavior. And it gives us this really practical, really compassionate toolkit for making small changes that can have a huge impact.
And what's so powerful here is just how simple these strategies are. Look at this. We're talking about a checklist that acts like an external sticky note, an external working memory, or putting a little note by the coffee pot that prompts the whole process to start. And instead of a big, overwhelming question like, what do you want for breakfast, we offer a simple, structured choice. How about oatmeal or toast? It's all about providing a little bit of scaffolding, not taking over the whole project.
And this isn't just theory, it actually works. Remember Mrs. L from the beginning, lost in front of her fridge? Well, her daughter made a simple, laminated checklist she called the morning map, taped it right to the kitchen counter, and within a few weeks, that morning frustration, the thing that had been causing so much tension, was replaced by this quiet, predictable rhythm. It wasn't just about making coffee anymore. It was about giving her back a sense of peace and accomplishment.
This quote from some recent research just gets to the heart of it all. Executive function loss doesn't erase ability, it fragments access. Just think about that for a second. The skills, the memories, the knowledge, it's all still there. It hasn't been deleted, but the pathway to get to it has become all broken and unreliable. Our job then isn't to try and fix the person. It's to build a new bridge, a bridge made of routines and prompts and support that lets them access the amazing abilities they've had all along.
And once you realize that we're bridge builders, not mechanics, well, that leads to the most important shift of all. It completely reframes what we even think of as forgetfulness.
So many people ask, okay, but how is this any different from Alzheimer's or just a bad memory? This slide lays it out perfectly. Think of it this way. Memory loss is like a book with pages ripped out. The information is just gone. But executive dysfunction, that's like a book with all the pages still there, but they're all jumbled up and out of order. The information exists, but the sequence, the story, is lost.
So when Mrs. L was standing in front of that refrigerator, she hadn't forgotten that she wanted breakfast. She had lost the how. The internal script that had guided her through a million mornings had just gone silent. She wasn't losing her mind, she was just lost, in a familiar place, but without a map. And that realization changes our entire approach. It means we stop testing their memory and we start supporting their process. We stop asking, "Don't you remember?" And we start creating a world where they don't have to remember. Success is no longer measured by what they can recall, but by their rhythm. It's about creating a world so predictable and supportive that they can find their way with confidence, even on the foggiest of days.
So the next time you see that senior moment, just pause and ask yourself, what if this isn't an ending? What if it's an invitation? An invitation to stop trying to fix what's lost and to start building a better map for what's still there. By becoming the architects of their world, we don't just help them find their way, we help them find themselves again.